In the silence of the cosmos, thousands of miles above the Earth, a revolution was unfolding. One so quiet and invisible that it would take decades before the world fully understood its significance. This is the story of how satellites became the ultimate eyes in the sky, transforming the way we see our world, protect our nations, and even save lives. It's a journey filled with daring ambitions, personal sacrifices, and a constant fight against the vast, unforgiving nature of space. It all started in the midst of the Cold War, a time of intense global tension when the world seemed on the brink of disaster. In the 1950s, two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, were locked in an ideological battle that spanned the globe. But the most dangerous aspect of their rivalry wasn't fought on the ground, it was fought in the sky, in the vastness of space. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite. Its launch was a moment of triumph for the Soviets, but it was also a gut punch to the United States. The thought that the Soviets could send a satellite into space sent shockwaves through Washington, D.C., triggering fears that they might soon have the ability to strike anywhere on Earth, even from space. The race to control the heavens had begun. The launch of Sputnik 1 wasn't just about launching a piece of metal into orbit. It was the beginning of something far more profound, a new frontier of surveillance, intelligence, and warfare. Space had become the ultimate high ground. And as the United States scrambled to respond, they knew that if they didn't act quickly, they might fall behind in a battle that could shape the future of humanity. Enter a group of determined engineers, scientists, and military personnel who would forever change the way we view the world. They weren't thinking about global domination or political power, at least not in the way we imagine. They were thinking about the Earth below them, about watching from the heavens to ensure that no surprise attack could catch the US off guard again. The creation of Corona, the first US reconnaissance satellite, wasn't just a technological achievement, it was the culmination of years of struggle, secrecy, and failure. The program was launched in 1958, just a year after Sputnik, but it was far from smooth sailing. Every mission seemed to come with new challenges. Satellites failed to launch. They failed to take pictures. They were launched into orbits where they couldn't capture any meaningful data. But there was something different about the people working on Corona. They weren't discouraged by these setbacks. Instead, they embraced the failures as lessons, as stepping stones towards something greater. The stakes were too high to give up. Lives were at risk. And the world quite literally hung in the balance. One of the engineers who worked on Corona was John, a young man fresh out of college with a bright mind and a passion for space. He had always dreamed of working in aerospace, but he never imagined he would be part of something so secretive, so crucial. Day in and day out, John and his team struggled with failures. They fought to get cameras that could capture high-resolution images from space. They worked tirelessly on developing technology that could withstand the unforgiving conditions of orbit. But the real breakthrough came when they realized that they didn't need perfect conditions to succeed. Instead, they embraced the challenge of working within the limitations they had. Corona wasn't a machine of perfection, it was a machine of persistence. The system they created was far from flawless, but it worked. On August 18, 1960, the first successful mission of Corona returned with valuable reconnaissance photographs from space. They weren't just images, they were pieces of intelligence that would change the course of history. These images allowed the United States to see military installations in Soviet territory, track missile development, and gather vital information that would prevent conflicts from escalating into full-scale war. But the success of Corona wasn't just about what the satellites saw. It was about the people behind the project, their sacrifices, their determination, and their commitment to a cause greater than themselves. John, now an older man, would often look back on those years with a sense of pride. They had achieved something no one thought possible. They had brought space closer to Earth, and in doing so they had made the world a safer place. The significance of Corona was profound, but its legacy was just beginning. It opened the door for an entire industry of reconnaissance satellites that would take intelligence gathering to new heights. In the decades that followed, satellites became more sophisticated, more precise, and more capable of seeing through clouds, tracking vehicles, and even detecting subtle changes in the Earth's environment. In the 1970s, the Landsat program was born. Unlike military reconnaissance satellites, Landsat was designed to monitor the Earth's surface for environmental and agricultural purposes. But it wasn't long before its capabilities were put to use in ways no one expected. The Landsat satellites began to uncover evidence of deforestation, desertification, and even illegal activities such as poaching and illegal mining. These revelations became the foundation for global environmental awareness. The emotional impact of satellite surveillance became clear when a Landsat satellite captured images of the Amazon rainforest being cleared at an alarming rate. These images were shared with governments, environmental groups, and the public, sparking international outrage and action. The ability to see the destruction from space ignited a global movement to protect the environment, proving that technology could not only inform but inspire change. But space surveillance wasn't just about gathering images or tracking environmental changes. It had real-world implications for human lives too. In the early 2000s, satellites became crucial in responding to natural disasters. When the Indian Ocean tsunami struck in December 2004, satellites were among the first to capture the full extent of the destruction. These images were sent to aid agencies, helping them deploy resources and coordinate rescue efforts in the affected regions. Years later, in 2010, when the earthquake struck Haiti, satellites once again proved their worth. They helped rescue teams pinpoint areas of devastation that were otherwise unreachable due to the destruction of roads and infrastructure. The images provided by satellites helped save thousands of lives in the crucial hours following the disaster. For all their technical brilliance, satellites also provided something more profound: hope. In the darkest moments, when the world seemed to be falling apart, the images sent back from space were a reminder that we were never truly alone. There was always someone watching, always someone working to make things right. But not everyone viewed the rise of satellite surveillance in a positive light. For some, the growing presence of these technological marvels in the sky represented a loss of privacy, an invasion of personal space. The idea that governments and corporations could track people and activities from above raised concerns about surveillance states, and the ethical implications of space-based observation became a topic of heated debate. The people who created these satellites were well aware of the fine line they were walking. While satellites were used to protect nations and monitor environmental changes, they were also used to track potential threats, monitor borders, and conduct intelligence operations. And while the vast majority of the time, these satellites served a peaceful purpose, the reality was that space was, and still is, a battleground for influence and control. The emotional weight of this reality was felt most deeply by those who worked in the field, like Dr. Lisa, a scientist who had spent years designing the most advanced reconnaissance satellites. Dr. Lisa had always believed in the power of technology to do good, but she knew that her creations could also be used for darker purposes. She often wrestled with the idea of whether she was helping to build a better world or contributing to a world where privacy was becoming an illusion. But when she saw the lives saved during natural disasters, when she saw the environmental impact of her satellites shining a light on issues that had been ignored for far too long, she found peace. She knew that the work she had done, the satellites she had helped create, were tools for positive change in a world that often seemed beyond repair. And so, as we look up into the night sky today, we see more than just stars. We see satellites silently orbiting above us, gathering information that can prevent war, save lives, and protect our planet. They are a testament to the power of human ingenuity, to the vision of those who dared to look beyond the horizon and imagine a better world. The story of satellites and space-based surveillance is far from over. New technologies are constantly being developed, and the capabilities of these systems continue to evolve. But one thing remains constant: the idea that from the farthest reaches of space, we can see what happens here on Earth, and through that vision we can shape our future. And perhaps that is the most emotional aspect of all. Satellites remind us that no matter how vast and overwhelming the world might seem, there are always ways to look beyond the horizon. There is always a way to see more clearly. And sometimes, in the darkest of times, those far-off images can be the light that guides us home.